Parliament is expected to receive the draft National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill this week following an approval by Cabinet. The draft laws seek to formalise the Investigating Directorate, which some say should resemble what used to be known as the Scorpions. Newzroom Afrika's Athi Mtongana reports.
In the President's letter this week, he highlighted that the State Capture Commission of Inquiry made over 200 recommendations of criminal probes and possible prosecutions of people and companies implicated in the evidence that was produced before the inquiry. The President says 9 cases are currently in court, with 41 people and 12 companies facing charges. And in recovering proceeds of crime, a total of 5.4 billion rand has been traced and returned to the government. The NPA has been granted freezing orders worth 13 billion rand. And through the Commission's evidence, the South African Revenue Service has collected unpaid taxes. But is any of this enough?
The first thing that comes to the mind of the ANC is itself, not the country. Otherwise, the ANC would have implemented those findings long time ago. I think the ANC has been hamstrung by some of its own internal political dynamics. Uncle Kweremantashe is on record having said that the ANC should not be hasty. They should not rush into implementing those findings. No wonder the ANC has put those findings on hold because of a number of factors. One, some of those findings, because the assumption was that in the final analysis, those findings in the bigger scheme of things, they were going to affect the other faction, which is the faction of radical economic transformation. But it turned out that it affected both factions, even the faction of President Ramaphosa.
It was in October last year that President Ramaphosa submitted before Parliament government's action plan on how the state actually plans on implementing those recommendations.
Once the implementation plan was received from the President on behalf of the Executive to Parliament, it was transmitted to the various committees, 22 committees to be exact, which have then been working very hard to ensure that appropriate oversight is being conducted over the organs of the state agencies, the government departments, to ensure that those recommendations from the State Capture Commission are fully implemented. And that work is continuing, and those committees are actually on quarterly basis accounting and reporting to the Speaker of the National Assembly as well as the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces.
The President says out of 14 new laws or legislative amendments, 8 have been approved by Cabinet and tabled in Parliament. This includes the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill, which aims to strengthen the NPA by formalising the Investigating Directorate.
That particular bill that we are awaiting from the executive, once it comes, despite the fact that, as you will imagine, we are moving towards the closure of the 6th Parliament with the election taking place next year. So there are certain bills that Parliament has prioritized to ensure that they are driven and completed before the end of this particular term of Parliament. So you would imagine that given the importance of that particular bill in the fight against corruption, that should be prioritized by Parliament. Once it is received by the Speaker's office, it will be transmitted to the appropriate committee to ensure that the work begins without delay.
For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Athi Mtongana in Parliament.